Welcome back for another episode. I have a special guest today, our good Baba Peter Brown. Welcome to Let's Look at It Again. Tell us a little bit about yourself if you could.
All right. Thank you for having me. So I'm almost 60 years old, hard to believe. Born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm in technology, cybersecurity. I've been in technology for 25 years. I was born to a mother who was a Panther and a father who was a Mau Mau affiliated. So I didn't have no choices. It was just going to be this way, right? The first language I learned to speak was Swahili, not English. So I really didn't have any choice surrounding my disposition or what kind of a man I would be,
All right, I appreciate you sharing that. So I invited you here today. I've been following you on Facebook, and there's a lot that you say, you teach, and that you do that resonates with me well from a Pan-Africanist lens, from a repatrianist lens, and most importantly, from an Afro-consciousness lens. Tell me what your thoughts are on the meaning, purpose, and intent of being a Pan-Africanist, and if you even consider yourself a Pan-Africanist or not, because I don't want to just force an ideology on you.
So that's really I appreciate that, and it's probably the first time I've ever heard anybody actually ask that question. Pan-Africanism to me is likely the only intelligent system for Africans anywhere in the world in order to get to the next place. See, if we allow ourselves to be siloed and think that our experience is singular and unique, while we are individuals and we are unique with unique experiences, the circumstances which deliver us where we are not unique. So, I mean, I've heard some of our greatest speakers speak to, that them brothers in South America, they African American too. Malcolm X said, them brothers in Central America, they're African American too. And so what happens is we get these labels and we divide ourselves in these comfortable little categories, and we fracture our own power, our own strength. We are, and some of our greatest leaders have spoken very clearly, we are the most unorganized corporation in the world. We are the biggest corporation in the world. So from my perspective, Pan-Africanism is really the only ideology that brings us where we need to go, right? And in the end of the day, I've never identified myself as any group, if I were in any form, really. But if I were to have to choose, then Pan African would be mine. The red, black, and green flies over my home, and I have always followed and used the lessons of Marcus Garvey in my everyday. I mean, and I guess it's almost a natural disposition based on my own history, right? So, Booker T. Washington was required for understanding. Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, all these things were normal as breakfast cereal is in somebody else's house. These things in my house were what we did. This is what we studied. I got 9 brothers and sisters, and all of my brothers and sisters we all had to understand these ideologies from a very early age. So there's just no other option other than Pan-Africanism, really.
I appreciate that. Some of what I've seen you do on social media entailed you doing development on the continent, doing different projects. I thought I saw you doing some agricultural things. Can you tell us, like more specifically, what are those activities and development projects that you have begun or have done in the past on the continent?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot. And it is, I want to clarify because there's no way that I could do them alone. One man couldn't do what we have done, right? I'm the CEO and founder of the Ledge Group. And so everything that we have done has been crowdsourced. So I have to divert all accolades back to the group, back to us, back to you, right? None of this is possible without the family. It's Ubuntu. Um, and so some of the things that we've done, we built a hospital in Sierra Leone for a community of 50,000 people that have never had health care before. Um, the hospital is self-sustained. It's our own doctors, our own nurses, our own administrative staff, our own equipment. It's our hospital. Through that hospital, we were able to gain valuable insight surrounding the ailments. Why are people getting sick? Why are they coming to the hospital? And we were able to identify the fact that it was waterborne illness. And so, based on our data and having served the community for a few years, we were able to see clearly what's causing the people to get sick. So on the heels of the hospital, what we did was we built out a water filtration and bottling facility there in Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone has got an awful lot of activity that we've done. We opened a vocational institute there. We have a political party there. We've got logistics operations in Sierra Leone. We've got a metal welding operation. We are fabricating tools, crowbars and hammers and like that. And there's a few other operations that are active in Sierra Leone. Very busy in Salone. Then in Zambia, our members own land. I'm building my home there. We contributed to the building of a maternity ward there. We own some tow trucks there. What else have we done in Zambia? We've got other work in place in Zambia that has been done. In Uganda, I flew into Uganda. We worked with local farmers, the Farmers Cooperative. We provided farm inputs for 250 farmer families. I walked with them and worked with them on the plantations, and we've imported coffee ever since. In the Free State of Kwakwa in South Africa, I became aware of women. So Kwakwa ran out of water. South Africa in general ran out of water a few years back, 4 or 5 years back. And I became aware of the women in the Free State of Kwakwa selling their bodies to get water. And this wasn't even water for them to drink. This was water for them to wash their elder parents. And they were selling their bodies to truck drivers to get water. Well, we had operations there surrounding goats and chickens and some land. And so we also happened to have a spring that had been providing water for a millennia. So we built a water filtration system and bottling system, and we gave it to the women there in South Africa. So we've built a number of water filtration systems. We in Kenya have had access to 53,000 acres of land. We won number 2 with youth in farming in Kenya, in the entire country, #2. And that was amazing. We've got ongoing agricultural projects there. We've got an MMA gym in Nigeria, just recently expanded to Zambia. And we've got fighters that are out there, and they're making noise and battling sisters and brothers. So that's a beautiful thing. We built a resort in Tanzania. In addition, I've traveled back and forth into Ghana, into the various countries, as well as throughout America, and performed solar alternative energy workshops, teaching my people how to produce power from wind, water, or solar source, harness it, store it, use it safely. I've also performed some the advanced water filtration workshops as well, to teach people how to filter water using easily sourced material. So, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot because there's so much. We've been active for now 10, 12 years. And so we've done a lot. We've performed a lot of work.
Wow, I'm blown away. You know, this is amazing because when we talk about Pan-Africanism, and I'm taking notes here, you bounced around the continent. This is Pan-Africanism in practice, from one country, one people, to another country and another people. So there's this broad scope of services and development that you're not just bringing to one country and one particular tribe or ethnic group of people, but this is actually bridging the gap from one African country to another African country, uniting people, organizing people, and most importantly, doing the developmental work that the people on the ground need. So this is phenomenal, and I'm glad that you're able to be here and share this right now. Two key words that you said that really resonated with me well, and reinforced some of the African ideals that I hold, ideals that I hold, are collectivism and cooperative. You rarely ever hear these words, collective and cooperative. Most of the times when you talk to people going to the continent, they're doing things entrepreneurially, they're doing things individually for their own profit and their own personal development. So can you tell viewers, why collective and cooperative are two words, two ideas that we cannot leave out of the equation as Africanists doing this Pan-African work?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's an adage that says, if we cross the river together, the alligator cannot eat us. The problem is that we've been isolated and attacked consistently for hundreds of years, dare I say thousands of years. And the way that this machine works is that it isolates you, and then it picks you off, right? So it takes these people and it isolates them in Costa Rica. It isolates them in El Salvador and Nicaragua and all over the place. All over the world, there's pockets of Africans everywhere, and they're isolated, and they are individually attacked using the dynamics in that given area. There is simply no possible way. Malcolm was quite famous for saying that until Africa is strong and respected, then no African anywhere on this planet Earth will recognize respect. It's not possible. If nobody can disrespect your mother and then respect you, it doesn't work that way. So the only forward, or an intelligent forward path, requires collective work. right? And so, what I looked at, I looked at the landscape, and I looked at kind of, how our leaders have been pretty much snake oil salesmen, and how this has run, right? And I won't call out any names, but I will say that a lot of these leaders, or these front men, are paying their bills on the people. But we're not going to make any progress if you take your money, don't pay your bills, send it to me, and then I pay my bills, right?
Woo!
That doesn't solve the problem, right? One way or another, it's going to the same man, right? And it doesn't take us any further. So we're not supposed to, and again, it's an unpopular position that I take. But the revolution ain't supposed to pay us. We're supposed to pay it, right? We're not
Wow.
we're not supposed to get paid from this. We're supposed to pay it. It's a function of it is what we owe. It is the cost that we must pay for the work and the sacrifices that our ancestors have done. I'm not here to make money. I'm here to produce freedom. So the only way that we could possibly do this, furthermore, there are very real and some artificial divisions that exist between the continental African and us in the diaspora. And as I say, some of those are real and some of those are artificial. But at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to put our differences down, because they exist for sure, but recognize what is common among us. Recognize, look at the hierarchy of needs. What is the common need among us? And then work to develop a plan to solve it for each other. So it doesn't work without the continental African. We here in America, we like to think that the idea of American exceptionalism has seeped into our consciousness as well, and we tend to walk around the world as if we are exceptional because we come from America. And unfortunately, what happens is that obscures what our actual value is, right? And when we look at what the actual value proposition, what is it that we in America have or bring to any table? What do we bring? And the most valuable thing that we possibly bring is visibility and experience into absolutely everything that was required to produce a superpower. We've watched it from the ground up. Everything, every mistake, every success, every try, every fail. We've watched America go from nothing to a superpower. So what we have is a unique experience, unique visibility surrounding the making of a superpower, right? And we've overlooked this body of knowledge, but this is truly what our greatest benefit is. And so the things that we as a group have done have been in the name of producing alliances, relationships, and reputation necessary for us to be able to do anything on the continent. First of all, I need them to know that their brothers and sisters all over the world love them, connect with them. And so we step into the continent and make sure that people are eating, make sure that people are stable. And then we'll take off our shirts, grab a hammer, and we go to work, right? We define the forward focus and we go to work.
I think you're just touching on too many points. I only had an hour this morning. There's no way we're gonna get everything out, because you're like, woo, man. So we can't be for-profit revolutionaries, and we cannot go to the continent to enrich ourselves. One thing that I'm learning, even in my late age, I'm just really understanding this, is that we really can't do anything to develop without having a high level of expertise, a high level of skill. You've mentioned some of the projects that you're doing, and I'm thinking about science, technology, geography, biology. You have to have some high level skill. And you mentioned the fact that as Africans in America, we've had the opportunity to be here and see what to do, how to do it, get the education, and to take it and do for ourselves. Why have we not been putting all this stuff together is the question.
Because comfort and complacency is a hell of a drug. You know, we just passed what is called Juneteenth, and I watched the conversation swirl. I watched everyone speaking about it, and if you listen to the average Black or white American and ask them, hey, well, so when did you get freedom? They'll actually have an answer. They'll actually have a date. You know what I'm saying? They'll say, you know, 1863, 1865, when they found out. But the truth is that we have never been free unless Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, Noble Drew Ali, George Jackson, Bunchy Carter, Huey P. Newton, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King were all wrong. We never attained freedom. So the problem is, and this is this is how this system has worked, right? See, because in order to make a man stay in the most abhorrent condition, right? How do you create a slave, right? Here you have a people whose women were being bred and raped in front of them, right? Where they're raping they are raising the slave master's child, right? Where the men are being castrated, where horror is occurring generation after generation after generation. How do you make a man stay? See, if you do this to a man, if you treat a man poorly, eventually he will decide to get up and leave you. Nobody is going to stay there forever. How do you make a man stay? Right? And unfortunately, what has happened is we've lost sight of what are those instruments of our oppression. You make a man stay when you have complete and total control over his essential needs. Those things that keep him alive. If you control his water, where's he going? How's he leaving you? If you control his food, where's he going? If you control everything that he needs in order to be alive, then he will never leave your side. And so until he finds the strength to stand up on his own feet, to sacrifice, and to produce them for himself. Until that day, he will be by your side forever. So today, there's only two people that are standing side by side in North America. That is the former slave and the former master, side by side, tied to the hip. And this is rooted in comfortability. We're comfortable in the condition that we are. So we've learned to cope so long that we don't want anything else but to cope. We think that this is the final destination, when in fact, for any living human being, or truly any species, freedom is the primary destination. Freedom to exist autonomously, to not be tied to the success or failure of anyone else in order to be able to survive into the next 3 days. So it is complacency that keeps us here. It is an illusion of inclusion. It is an illusion of freedom. It is these things that cause our condition to persist.
You know, as you were talking, I'm just thinking about how, you know, people often say, Black people, African people often say, oppressor, our oppressor. We're being oppressed. We need liberation. And to me, it's more of not a matter of being oppressed, but more of being dependent. Like you're in your parents' house and you're an adult now. They no longer can restrain you from leaving the house, but you are a dependent. You are codependent, and you are making the decision on your own to stay here, as you said, and live in this comfort. So I quickly admonish people when I hear them say about, you know, our oppressors, we're being oppressed. We got the oppressor. the oppressor did, the oppressor's doing this. We really have to remove that mindset and begin to shift into an understanding that we have the ability, to move beyond this existence, whether we do it as individuals or we do it collectively. I personally think that we should organize all of our efforts to do this collectively. It makes no sense for me to go and live on a hill in Ghana on my 10 acres of land and say I'm free. That's just as Jay-Z's a billionaire. That doesn't make the rest of us rich.
Right.
So these ideas and these concepts, why do you think it's more popular for us to continue to believe that we're being oppressed than the idea that we should just completely prepare ourselves to separate collectively from this situation?
Well, the truth is that, when you turn on media, we might think that when we watch Kevin Hart or Shaquille O'Neal or Vivica Fox or any of these celebrities, we think they've made it, right? We think they have hit the goal. And we also think that they're selling us things, Car Shield, when I'm not talking about a game, we think they're selling us a product when in fact we are the product that they're selling. They are convincing us that we too might enjoy temporary comfort. And they're selling us this idea that temporary comfort is worth every expenditure that we can make. It's worth every compromise. And so each and every one, not simply the celebrities, but the politicians, absolutely every African that is in the diaspora, that is promoted by way of this Western media machine, is performing a service. None of them want to be free. They are comfortable under white supremacy. It is important to understand that if you have owned the value system of a people, if you own their value system, then you already own their wombs, you already own their children, you own their goals, their dreams, their hopes, their future, and their past. All of that is owned and encapsulated in the value system that you own. So now, if you can make millions and millions of African Americans believe that they should dribble a basketball for the next 10 years in order to get an NBA contract for a job that lasts for 10 years, then you have a very large group of people that you will have neutralized over time. If you can convince people that what they should be doing is singing and dancing and basically, what has been left to us and we have embraced is exactly what was forced on us 400 years ago. They forced us to sing and dance. They forced us to entertain them. They forced us to show them our asses. They forced us to open our legs. They forced us to do all of the different things that you see us embracing today. The MMA. They forced us to fight each other to the death. Everything that you see normalized in the society today actually came from abhorrent practices 400 years ago, and we're still doing the same thing. So the real issue is complacency and comfort. The people don't know that they're not free, and that is the most difficult person to free, right? Jay-Z don't want to be free. Oprah don't want to be. Oprah could buy an island and she could build her own healthcare facility. She could build her own water filtration and collection. She could build her own power source, her own farming. Oprah could live completely autonomously. Why doesn't she? She is a part of this machine. She serves it well. She collects more every single day. She doesn't want to be free. She enjoys her captivity.
Hmm. How about us who have a level of consciousness or a level of awareness or who have re-Africanized? Is it possible, according to history, would history show us that it's possible for us to stay in this environment and actually be free and African centered while still living in this society?
It's not possible. And if we look at our demographics over the last 400 years, we would like to highlight and point to milestones as us winning, right? Being being the first African American to do this and to go there and to be in these different places. And we consider this winning. We look at Jay-Z, we look at Oprah, we consider this winning. But we're not winning. We're losing comfortably and slowly. There is no possible way for us to flourish forward. In 2023, look at us. We're disappearing. And we're disappearing from so many different sources. And we've had the glimpses in. I watched as Henry Kissinger stood in 1974 at the UN and said that homosexuality could be used as a weapon to produce population control. He said that. They sanitized it from the internet. You can't find it anymore. But that happened in 1974. Henry Kissinger said that homosexuality could be used as a means of producing population control. Every single evil thought that has popped into these people's heads over the last 200, 300 years has been put into effect. And today in 2023, we are looking at the effects of that. So today, I see Black women abandoning Black men in numbers faster than has ever happened in history before. It's by design. We are watching them attack our children and bend their genders. And again, it is by design. We're looking at every effort that they put into place, neutralizing our ability to propagate ourselves, just like the GMO seeds, neutralizing our ability to propagate ourselves. In less than 50 years, if we don't do something, we're going to be gone. There won't be any of us anymore. There will not be full-blooded African Americans. And I don't even want to say, full-blooded, because I know, having stood beside my brothers all over the continent, I know what they done did. That they have they are a foreign agent in my bloodstream. I know this, right? But to the extent that I have 4 grandparents and they were all Black, and their grandparents were all Black, and their grandparents were all Black, and their grandparents were all Black, to the extent that there is some level of continuity within my genetic makeup, that will be gone in less than 50 years based on what America has done.
That's heavy. It just makes me wonder, does it make any logical sense for us to believe that we're going to survive into the future in this country? Some of us tend to think that just because we survived so much in the past, that there's no possibility of us being wiped out. You made it very clear that genocide is something that can actually happen to us, but I don't think we take that seriously enough. And I've brought other people like yourself onto this channel to actually, make that a point, to make that clear that yes, we do face the possibility of not existing as we do today in the United States.
Yep, we absolutely do. We are facing extinction level events. The exodus of Black women from Black men in America today is so alarming. I don't even have an idea as it relates to how to bridge that. It is not without foundation. I get it. I can see why she don't want Ray Ray. I can see why these little, I understand why our sisters are turning away from us, because there ain't no men. Where did the men go? These are some whiny little, I don't want to go too far, but this isn't what a man was. This isn't what a man was only 2 short generations ago. 3 short generations ago, I came from men like Malcolm X, real men. And now what our sisters are offered are skinny jeans wearing, halfway down the back of their knees, unprepared, unwilling, excuse making, overconfident talkers, right? That are brutalizing us. And so, yeah, we are pushing our own extinction level event. You know, China brought themselves to an extinction level event. So did India, when they disrespected womanhood for so long, right? In China, they would kill children. You know, they would say you couldn't have, if you had a female child, there was a quota, there was a number that you could have before they start killing them. They wanted you to have boys. They respected, they valued boys, they devalued girls. Well, China is almost at an extinction level event because they don't have any women to propagate China, right? And they did this to themselves. India did the same thing. And for many years, I stood back and I spoke to, and I kind of did a tisk to China and to India for what they did. And now I look at my brothers and sisters here in America and I see that we did the exact same thing and we face the same extinction level event. Absolutely. Tomorrow is not assured. It is what we have gone through. For what we have gone through, the only reason that we could possibly still be here is by way of divine intervention. There's nothing that should have allowed us to persevere and still be here through the incomprehensible woe that our family had gone through. Nothing. So we already have enjoyed divine intervention, and we pushing. Mama used to say throwing rocks at the penitentiary. We pushing the parameters of divine intervention. We pushed that, and we've gone beyond that, and we're comfortable. And I mean, yeah, man, we could absolutely, it's not we could. If we don't do something, we will be extinct in short order.
Now, we just saw, for time's sake, I'm going to try and just get a couple of things out. But we just saw the reverse of affirmative action, basically, right? And a lot of people are saying it didn't help us or didn't do us any good in the first place. But one thing I personally think about in relation to this conversation and what we must do is we had an opportunity to get all we could out of this society.
Mm-hmm.
And we slowly see that is beginning to reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are today, what would you tell the Black masses in this country that we should prepare to go from here?
You hit it on the head. We did have an opportunity. And I think, I asked some questions and I got educated. Because I personally didn't know. I'm born in Boston. I personally didn't know anybody that truly benefited from affirmative action. But as I asked the question, I find that there are a lot of people that went and got advanced degrees. There are a lot of people that actually did. The problem is the way that America works. It's a slave making machine. It gives you this, but it's going to extract that. And so what happens is it gives the education. And we think, oh, wow, we're able to do like they're able to do. I can live like them. I can be like them. I'm just like them. And so we abandon any cohesive idea surrounding who we are. And we are no longer an individual group, but we're a part of the larger group. We don't see ourselves anymore as Black people. We're them. I'm not OJ. I'm not Black, I'm OJ, right? And this is what happens to us. So my suggestion is, and it's consistent with what I have done, I suggest take your advanced degrees, travel the planet, find a place that resonates with you, right? Personally, something that makes your heart and your spirit sing. And then when you do that, when you find that place, partner with the people. All power to the people. Partner with the people. Produce some socially focused projects in that area. Create partnerships and alliances with the people in that area, and you will find everything that you need is easily provided, whether that be land, whether that be resources, whatever that is. If you go in with a standard operating model, you will find everything that you need is available to you and you can produce your existence. I suggest, and it's been said for many years, exodus. We need to leave, but we need to leave intelligently. Okay. And the other point to that. So the assumption is, the assumption is that we as a people could never go extinct. We could never expire, right? That we'll always be here. But that further assumes that white supremacy can never expire. So the assumption is that they will always be in power. There's a certain component of us that believes this is normal, and that this is the way it is and the way it's supposed to be, and it's going to march forward to infinity. But this is abhorrent. Every single stitch of it is abhorrent. No, Ray Ray can't go through the neighborhood and rape little girls and breed little girls and have a wonderful life. It doesn't work like that. What Ray Ray did is going to catch up with Ray Ray. Well, America is Ray Ray, right? America is Ray Ray. She has run through, robbed, raped, stolen, genocided. She has performed acts no other nation on the planet Earth has ever performed to her own people, right? There is no possible way that she persists to infinity. So we assume that this position of being a tick on the ass of this dog is a solvent place for us. Is not. This is not going to last forever. Neither is our comfortable spot biting that dog's ass.
I'm glad you broke all that down for us, because it makes me think about the Jews leaving Nazi Germany. You know, people will always say things like, well, we can't go to Africa because the white man's there too. A good brother, he would say, black people in America have this belief in their minds that the white man is Thanos. You know, the Marvel character, like, we can't go anywhere because Thanos is all powerful, and anywhere we go, Thanos is going to show up and destroy what we're doing. You know, when the Jews were leaving Germany, the Nazis didn't come chasing behind them. You know, they just wanted them out of Germany. And
That's
Israel
right.
was Israel was developed, and so on and so forth. I'm like, we have to understand that there are opportunities, there are options that we have to explore and that we can do. But from what I'm getting here is we're just not prepared. We don't have the broad I don't want to say that we don't have the knowledge or the capability. I just feel like we don't have a collective leadership under a particular ideology that would move us forward. So my question to you is, do you feel like we would benefit from having a vehicle or a leading ideology or a leading organization that can direct us out of this situation rather than us trying to figure things out on our own as a scattered bunch of people?
You know, that's a really good question. I have not actually spoken this that I'm about to say to you, and it's been kind of in my mind, but it became very popular, right? Coming out of the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It became very popular for Black people to stand on a soapbox and preach their ideology on the street corner. It became very popular. We became enamored with that. Slick talking, quick eyed, Al sharp tongue. You know, it became very popular. It even has morphed into a legitimate career, activism, you know, and now you get paid. White folk will pay you to do it, you know. And we became enamored. And then social media happened. Now everybody is an Al sharp tongue. Everybody has a pen. Everybody is an author. And most of them don't have anything to say. They have no real foundation. They never performed any actual study. They didn't do any critical analysis. They were educated by memes and videos and snippets of videos. And then they take to the social media and then they spout these putrid ideas, right or wrong, foundation or not, and they spout them. And so what happened is, in order to diminish the blast radius associated with the conspiracy theory, what you don't do is deny the conspiracy theory. You instead flood the airwaves with a billion conspiracy theories. This way, no one can ever figure out what is actually true. Well, that's exactly what happened. Instead of a comprehensive, intelligent plan, what we have is thousands and thousands and thousands of confused talkers that grab the attention of the masses. They flash nice cars. They flash the things that the masses want. Again, they're tapping into that value system being owned and they're infiltrating it so they can exfiltrate capital from the people. So these are a lot of snake oil salesmen that are very successful. So your question, is there an ideology or a leadership? I don't know that we are in that place. I think that the people are so divided and confused. I've spent my time repeating the words of Malcolm X. And you know how many of this current generation actually hear those words? I can use Malcolm X's words verbatim. And they say, "Oh, you scared." Wait, you didn't hear what I just said. I can speak with white folk and I can quote Martin Luther King verbatim. And today they'll say, "Ah, nah, you racist." What? Because they have no context. They do not actually understand what's being said. They don't understand how we get here. They don't understand. So I don't know that, I am a big fan. And some of the reason that we've gotten the work done that we have is because you'll notice there's not a lot of interviews of me. I don't self-aggrandize. I'm not going to take a name and call myself the prince of anything. I'm not doing any of those different things. I'm not going to use the algorithms because I think people need to hear me. I am not going to do those things. I think that it makes more sense for me to close my lips and clasp my hammer stronger. It is better for me to put bricks into the wall than it is to point to the bricks that need to be taken out of that wall, right? So I don't know that there's an ideological solution to this problem. I think it is more practical. You know, I don't think the answer is over our heads. I think it's below our feet. It's a hierarchy of needs. It is so unity is a very difficult thing because this one's priority is different from that one's priority, and what drives and what motivates each and every single one of us is different. And there's no right or wrong to that. It simply is that we're unique individuals. And so I don't believe that ideology is capable of uniting us in the way that we need to be. The only thing that can unite us is inexplicable common denominators. If you don't have water, you die. If you don't have water in 3 days, you die. You need it. I need it. Our children need it. This is the common bind, the hierarchy of needs. So I just don't know. I just don't, just based on watching the landscape, watching the Al Sharpton, the Jesse Jackson, having watched all of these people on the soapboxes just proudly talking and then going and sleeping with people's wives and all that. Like, I just feel like that became it became probably the wedge that has produced our difficulties. That's why, actually, our Black sisters are abandoning our Black men, because of these soapbox plantation pimps that are walking around with bright feathers and strutting, you know, and telling the world they're the cock of the walk, when in fact they're the lowest. You wouldn't trust this person with leaves, right?
You know, I think it's important also to be comfortable and to be okay. Actually, it should be mandatory that we critique constantly these people before us that we recognize or acknowledge as being leaders or warriors, scholars or elders or whoever, because we end up with a hero worship and a leadership cult following that really materially isn't moving us anywhere. And a lot of us just are not comfortable with critique. You know, we like to flip things back and say things like, well, what are you doing? Or what have you done? And that's not a solution. So I'm actually glad that you even took the stance that you don't have all the answers. You're not sure exactly where we should go. But I reached out to you because I see which way you're going. I see what you're doing. And that's the most important thing, is to see the direction that things are going in and to decide, is this the best logical course of action or not? And to me, I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I have a family, wife and 2 children. And as we continue to learn and, you know, stack our resources and position ourselves, I hope to eventually be able to do some of those things that you're doing. In the Ledge Group, you know, I haven't gotten a lot of information about the Ledge Group, but and I think we can do that off camera. We can talk more about the Ledge Group and what you're doing. But initiatives like, you know, some of what you laid out is very clear that this is a path toward development. If you want freedom, if you want liberation, if you want justice, if you want equality, you have to build it and create it for yourself.
That's right.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Is it possible for somebody to give you liberation? See, the problem is they can tell you they can give you liberation, but I promise you, when you flip that over and look at it, it's going to say made in China. That ain't liberation. You understand? Is it possible for somebody to give another man freedom? That ain't freedom if somebody gave it to you. Is it possible for somebody to give you your self-respect, your self-esteem? None of these things can be granted. They cannot be given. They cannot be legislated or mandated. They cannot be provided to you by somebody else. There's a prerequisite need for you to do something. You want to be free? You're going to earn it every day that you have it. You want liberation? Prove it. You need to show that, and that is the only way it'll ever be attained. If you prove it, you know, who wants it more? And so, no, there is no other option. Nobody can, you can't beg for it. You can't march and cry. You can't ask somebody to free you. It doesn't work that way. You either will produce it or you will not have it. And the problem is that we place so many other things as a priority over it. So we spend our lives looking for love. We want to be loved, right? Instead of being free. And so because we want to be loved more than we want to be free, we will neither be loved nor free. You understand? We are in a position where the primary missing element poisons and perverts everything else. So how can you have a stable family if you are a slave? How can you find true love if you are a slave? How can you find prosperity and live a virtuous lifestyle if you are a slave? If you start with the foundational building block of slavery, everything from that forward must be poisoned. But if you start at a foundational block of freedom, then what will happen is you will have organic growth. You will be able to find love there. You will be able to find your direction there, but you can't do it standing in the mud of the pig's parlor. It's not possible. So I look at mental health professionals, right? And I hear them speak about how important mental health is. And it absolutely is true. But do I want to make Black people mentally sound so that you are what? Better able to serve white supremacy? Like,
Wow.
is there a such thing as well adjusted to an abhorrent circumstance? If you become mentally whole while a slave, what benefit is that? So what we're trying to do is go past the primary issue and build on top of it, as if it's okay for me to be 3/5 of a human being and I'll just be able to fill that up with money and water and cars and these different things. It doesn't work this way, right? So the foundation must change. First and foremost, we must remove ourselves from the condition that has held us in state. And it is from there that we can build forward. If you built love based on a slave disposition, then I have to question whether or not that's real love. If you built anything with the foundation of dependency and slavery first, I have to question the solvency of anything that has been built, because it's predicated upon an abhorrent truth, right? You have to eliminate that first, and then you can build organically.
I appreciate that, Baba Peter. Like you really struck so many very powerful chords, and I hope that when people see this, it will give them some questions. It'll make them question their thinking. It'll make them question their beliefs, and it'll make them question what their vision is for the future. So we're gonna wrap up here, and I hope that you will be open to come back again, because I would like to talk more about your thoughts on education and your thoughts on development, and give us some practical things that we can begin to do to move forward. So thank you again. I really appreciate you, and I'll continue to follow your work.
It is my honor, brother. Thank you for having me, and thank your audience. I pray you health, wellness, and again, I pray the curse of freedom on each and every one of us.
Thank you so much, Baba. You take care.
Thank you.